Hello, and welcome to the first video of 2020 for the Nimble solution. So, I've been working on Nimble version 5 for about a year. It's been a labor of love, and I wanted to, and over the course of 2019, I made a new contacts on LinkedIn, and I wanted to give a little background of where Nimble came from for those who don't know already. Nimble version 5 has been tested over the past year, but the algorithms and the design itself has already been perfect and perfected for quite a while now. Nimble version 5 is compiled using Nimble version 4. And I've never showed this to you before. It's a native code Power Basic C++ application that I've written to build desktop applications for Windows, and they are compatible with Linux Wine. So within this one studio, you build your exe and it will run on both platforms. Once I had the runtime perfected, I decided to move it to JavaScript. So by simply converting the entire runtime into JavaScript, I was able to create what is now known as Nimble.js. That Nimble.js platform allowed me to use that desktop application to build Nimble version 5. So if you can imagine the complexity that is involved with building an IDE of this caliber with multiple tabs, all of the management of what you're editing versus what is the actual application, all running in the JavaScript platform, technically even on a browser, then you understand that the routines themselves are very solid and ready to rock and roll. Just wanted to give that background for those who don't know, so I can get into the features that I want to talk about today. You'll remember when I worked on my widgets and my distributable controls, I built a calendar control. That calendar control would use what's called control arrays, which I'm going to show you what I'm showing you here by highlighting them all. So I'm going to show you how control arrays are created. I'm going to delete all these, and then I'm going to build some control arrays for you. They're labels in this case because these represent the days of the week or all the days that you see on the calendar. So you drop a label onto any dialog, you look at the properties, and the first thing you'll want to do is probably adjust the size of the label so that they're square. Then you probably want to just add a 1 for the caption and then go into the styles. And set the border width to 1 pixel so you can see all your controls, and then probably just save it. So now you can see basically one calendar day. My text and captions were right justified, so we'll set the right justified on, and they were up in the upper right corner. So normally I guess what you would expect to do is set the vertical align property to top, but if you do that, you'll notice the text doesn't move, and that's on purpose. That's not a mistake. Every element within Nimble is properly labeled and uses a standard naming convention. So what you really want to do is you want the caption of the text box to be top aligned. So by just setting the caption vertical alignment to top and click apply, you'll see it goes where you want it to. So every element within this IDE allows you to address each part or component that comprises a control. We'll save that, and now we have one calendar day. The beauty of Nimble, we can copy that control and paste it, and it'll ask you, do you want to make a control array? You say yes, and now you have 2, and then we can make 7 of them by simply Control V for pasting. And we're just pasting them all back into the dialog. You notice I'm just dropping them. I'm not really caring about justifying them too much. Okay, now we have 7 controls. We're going to select them all, and we're going to format align them to the top. So now there are approximately 4 weeks in a month, but every calendar displays about 5 weeks for overlap rollover. So we'll grab all 7 of those, and we'll Control C to copy, Control V to paste. and they're sitting right on top of each other. So you just drag them down. You paste another set of 7 and drag them down. So now we have all the components for days that we're going to use on our calendar. And because of how I just went through that exercise, the first component is 0, label 0, and the last component is 34, because there are 35 components in all. They are in order as they should be. So when the algorithm runs, basically it justifies and sizes each of the days onto the control, sets the captions, and does all the necessary calendar work all in a separate factory called common controls widgets. It handles all of the actual work. But this sets up the layout to be used for a calendar, or the component to be used for a calendar. What I did do is I did not include the captions and the borders. So in this case, we can go to the text field and just remove it, and then go to the styles field. And remember, we set that border to 1 pixel. We set it to 0, apply it, and everything goes back to like invisible components that can now be used for your calendar days. Just wanted to give you a look at how calendar and control arrays work in Nimble.js. One other feature I'm going to show today is, I guess, one of the final features I added into Nimble version 4. It is a very complicated feature. It uses and incorporates dynamic components as well as UI enhancements to the IDE itself. And it has to do with what I use the term layouts. So we'll bring a new form into the project, and it's a custom control. And what it does is it allows you to add sizing bars or layout bars to establish zones, what I call zones, within any dialog by including this library into the dialog. This dialog is no longer, I'll say, usable the way a standard dialog where you drop controls. You now target your controls to the zones. So if we were to use this particular layout and now adjust the bars where we want, we've just created 3 target zones for our complete UI. Those zones are here, and they will be sized exactly the same size as these gray areas within this dialog. You can now build static components on each one of these zones, and Nimble will embed them into the layout and allow you to size your component zones at runtime. So that means your UI sizing within these zones are dynamic, and the components within them should also shift and move as expected. Just one of the final features I was testing this week, component zones as well as control arrays. Things are looking really sweet for 2020. Thank you for watching.